Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Real CFO Project, where we meet with entrepreneurs, business leaders, experts in certain areas to really help optimize the growth and financial well-being of our listeners, our uh, own families, our employees, and all of those that we serve, including our clients and our community. So I'm excited today. We don't have a numbers guy on. We've got an HVAC guy, but he's a young entrepreneur, and he's getting in and doing things the right way. So I'm excited to hear his story and the advice he has for uh, you guys, and really looking forward to it. Carter Henrie, appreciate you being on, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to share the knowledge I've got, and hopefully it helps somebody. So
Yeah. Oh, I know it will. Carter and I know each other from a group we both belong to, Real Business Owners. It's a group of solid folks of folks at different levels, right? Some have been in the game for a long time. Some are just getting started. Like Carter, he's been in a few years. I've been in kind of middle of the road. And there's some old guys, we call them legends, in there. So Carter, why don't we start off by just telling everybody a little bit about you, where you're from, what your business is, and kind of how you got started in that.
yeah, of course. So I'm out of Salt Lake City, Utah. Born and raised in Utah. Haven't really left the state too much. Um, I've been in the heating and air industry since I was about 16 years old. I've always worked and kind of believed in working for my money. So when I was 14, I actually started working at a restaurant, worked there for a few years, became a manager, and then my dad kind of gave me the ultimatum to drop out and go work full time. And I think he thought it would be kind of threatening and scary sounding, or go to school full time. To which I said, awesome, I'll go do HVAC. So my older brother did HVAC, and he kind of got me onto it. I got my GED, and by the time I was 18 years old, I was running my own truck and just kind of probably messing more stuff up than I was doing correct. But I was grateful the boss I had gave me that opportunity. And then I got into the commercial space for some years, the whole time just kind of building my reputation on the side, doing side work, getting referrals. Eventually it came to the point where I was at work one day and I thought, man, I'm just turning away money sitting here making money, which is kind of an oxymoron. But it got to the point where I just had to make that jump and that leap. And so I took some days off from work, told my boss I was sick, whatever. Luckily, my boss was a good mentor and buddy of mine. And so he gave me the time off, and I just said, I need X amount to buy uniforms. Once I have uniforms, I will feel legit, like I am a complete company. So I went door to door and almost didn't knock at this house just because of kind of a sketchy exterior. All the windows had tinfoil on them and everything, but I noticed it's the middle of the summer and every window's open. So I thought, okay, let me go see what they need. And just that first customer, kind of on my own, door to door, we were able to sell that job, and almost within the dollar amount, I got the exact goal of what I was trying to come up with for my uniforms. And that right there just kind of showed me, you just got to start. You got to try. You got to start wherever it means. And so that day I called my brother. He was still working electrical. And I said, hey, can you put your 2 weeks in and come work with me? And he said, are you sure? I said, yeah, we got this. And he blindly followed me. And fast forward 4 years from now, we've grown. We've brought employees on. We've failed. We've spent a lot of money doing it, but one thing that's stayed is keeping our reputation up, building that brand. And I think it's something that we don't even recognize to this day, the great reputation we've built.
No, that's awesome. And we'll get into that and how you built that. But what was that final, right? Because it just doesn't happen overnight. Most of us, especially that have been in the business, we started working for somebody else, or we found a solution for something, but there's that fear. There's the girlfriends, the wives, the kids, the family, the imposter syndrome, all of that stuff. So typically it's a process, right? It's not just hey, one day hey, why don't I just go do this for myself and say, okay, boss, can I have a day off? I mean, it probably built up. So, I mean, what finally allowed you to get rid of that fear that?
I will say there was two kind of key moments. The first one was I was working on a commercial project, and the tile guy, the one doing the acoustic ceilings, was about my age. He had a nice truck that was paid off, and he was telling me, yeah, I've got one other crew running this job. I'm going to run this job for 2 days, and then I'm going to head out fishing for 6 days between these jobs. And I don't care how smart people are, but it clicked in my head. I said, this guy is not as bright as you think you'd need to be to start a business.
Right.
He just had the guts to go out and do it. And so that right there kind of said, what am I doing? I'm being too smart by hurting myself. I had to get out of my own way. Yeah. The second key moment was actually reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I listened to the whole book at work one day, start to finish. And it just really clicked in my mind, well, where wealth comes from and the process to build wealth. You're better off starting now than later.
Yeah, that whole compounding effect, right? It's real. It's not just on interest rates. It's real, you know, on everything you do. You start early, you get more time to win big. So that was 2021 when you got started, right?
Yep.
And it's been all roses since then?
It has been getting slapped in the face, saying thank you, and moving on. So we've dealt with, you know, typical stuff that all businesses go through, maybe hiring employees that we thought were the solve for the issue without having the systems in place. Just right there, that's kind of a learning experience where you can blame the employee, but if you don't have a system created, you're setting them up for failure. So that's something that was big. And then just learning reputation. Like I said, we've always done very well with word of mouth and referrals. Something I'm really locking in this year and this quarter especially is how do we nurture that? So.
No, that's awesome. I know we've talked quite a bit over the last year or so and doing some work together in terms of you're really dialing into your systems and processes and your numbers. Is that a new revelation that came about right before we started talking or working with each other, or is that something you've been doing for a while?
So with numbers, that's very I came to a pain point last year, and I'll say it's kind of like the lowest I've been in business, where I just didn't know how we were going to get out. I'd kind of dug the hole so deep, and every move just felt like another chip down. And it wasn't until I realized facing the problem is the way to solve the problem. So you can always do more work, more business. It doesn't mean you're going to get out of a financial situation. So I'd say it's a newer kind of thought process, being on my numbers way more than most people are, but knowing that bottom line provides you kind of a sense of security to a degree, just knowing what your break-even points are.
Yeah.
And then
it's
being
oh, go ahead, man. Sorry.
Yeah. And then just being okay, losing money in the sense that it's for knowledge and for growth.
Yeah, I tell you, I made a post today regarding, you know, there's two directions you can run when shit gets real, right? You can run away from it, and if you do, it's going to keep chasing you.
Yeah.
Right. And you're never going to solve it. You're running from the pain. It's kind of bearing on you, creating anxiety, stress, depression, bad eating habits, all the stuff that goes along with that. Or you can turn around and say, you know what? I got this, and run right towards the son of a bitch and handle it, address the problem, go through the pain and everything. And you're going to get to the other side because it's moving. You're going to get through it. You know, Scott Ramage always says the story of the buffalo, right? The buffalo turns and runs towards the storm because they know they can get through it faster
Yep.
and handle it if they confront it. The cow just keeps on running,
Yeah.
and the storm keeps running right over it. So,
Yeah.
in the financial context of business, that's what knowing your numbers are. And people don't want to do it because they got money in the bank. Everything's good until that AP goes in and it's 25,000, and that's not out of the bank account yet. And you're like, oh, I don't have enough. Let's pick this one. Let's pick that one, right?
Yeah.
And then it becomes real. And but it's easy when you're comfortable. It's easy to just be okay and
Yeah.
not focus. So I admire that you're going in and looking at the numbers and diving in deep and know where your business is. The other thing is, it's just like writing down your goals or writing something down or having an accountability partner and say, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
If you're looking at your numbers, you create that budget, it's going to drive you.
Yeah.
It's going to push you to hit your marks, because you are a competitive person. If you go into business, if you throw on that entrepreneur hat, that, hey, I'm going all in, you're competitive
Yeah.
to a large degree, more than 90% of the folks that are out there, I think.
Yeah.
So looking at the stats, it drives you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think sometimes it takes a lot of courage to face the problem, especially financially, because sometimes the answer is not just as clear as we have to hit this number. It's as clear as we need to have this team together in order to hit that number. But when you start assembling a team, that number often starts hiking up. So it can seem kind of like a upwards battle. But something that I've already started to experience is we're getting to the point where we can see the end of our bad loans. We can see the next step on how we're going to avoid going back to that place.
No, that's awesome. I'm glad you brought that up and you're being vulnerable here.
Yeah.
A lot of folks, especially new entrepreneurs, get into business, and I know sometimes, like, I have no other option, right? I've already pawned my Huffy. I can't pawn Grandpa's wheelchair.
Yeah.
I can't do that. So we take on bad debt.
Yeah.
Can you kind of just not your specific situation, but just in general, what is bad about some of these loans that are out there, and knowing that, capital, you might have to get them.
Yeah.
You might have to go get them, but what's plan B? How do we get rid of them as fast as possible? So just kind of explain how that kind of handicapped you guys a little bit.
Yeah. So we've got a very high interest loan. And I would say what kind of classifies bad debt is going into debt without a plan for the money, for growth, and again, knowing your numbers so you can decide, okay, on average, if I put 30,000 into my business, I get this ROI from my business. And if you don't know the ROI from your business, you have no business borrowing money to pump into that business. You might as well just go light a fire with that cash.
Yeah.
So I think
I heard somebody say that, you shouldn't be borrowing money to do marketing. Right? I agree that to a large extent, but it goes to the point of not knowing what those results are. If you've been doing this marketing and you know what it's turning over in terms of leads, in terms of return on investment, like you said, take some money, invest the dollars. Because let's say I get a $10,000 note, because I need some short-term capital, and it's 18% a year.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm looking at what, 3% monthly? Yeah. So is that $300, right? Is that the interest rate on that? So am I going to be able to take that money, that $10,000, and return more than $300 a month?
Yep.
Now you're paying for your the cost of your capital. On top of that, how much do you need? What's your ROI? So you can pay the principal. So I don't care if the interest rate's 20, 30%.
Yeah.
It's the plan going in and the strategy getting out and the certainty involved around that ROI. share a
Yeah.
story real quick. I had a client. They had a deal that probably, I can't remember the numbers. I think it was they needed $100,000, and it was gonna turn 250 in about 75 days.
Yeah.
And people were saying, you're getting this high rate, note that's going to cost you. I got $150,000 returns that I can predict within 90% accuracy in 75 days. I don't care what the interest rate is,
Yeah.
right? I'm making 150,000. It might cost me 30% on that note. Okay, fine. I turn around and give somebody else 30. I
Yeah.
just made 120.
Yeah.
So analyzing it that way. So
Yep. Yeah, I think the difference between good debt and bad debt is the plan going into it. It's like you said, that interest rate could be irrelevant if you know you're going to get that return, especially with marketing. I think a good marketing campaign is a money printer once you have it dialed in. Because once you get that ROAS data, it's like, as long as we keep this campaign successful, we are essentially trading money for money.
yeah, right. Yeah, how much are we putting in? How much are we getting out? Yeah, the problem is people say, hey, Carter, you have a marketing agency over there. I see your TikToks. You look awesome. You're doing great. I'm going to give you the $10,000 to run a campaign for me.
Yeah.
Having never done it, never talked to anybody about results. You might as well just put that $10,000 through a shredder or whatever the number is, right?
Uh-huh.
But if you have something that's been working for you and you've been spending $100, $200 a month on it, doing it yourself,
Yeah.
it's predictable. Throw gas on it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That and it's two different things, because I've been on both sides of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not speaking just to speak. I've lost a lot of money, and I'm sure you probably have too, investing in some marketing. Like,
Yep. And that's I always tell people is, I'll kind of joke, over the years we've done almost probably around $1 million in revenue just in our total lifetime. And I always tell people, you can listen to my advice. I've only spent about $1 million to get it. It's just like all this money, like, we're not crazy profitable. I didn't make $1 million over the last 4 years and have 850 sitting in the bank. So
yeah, I know.
A lot of it was just, you got to spend it to learn. If you're quick about learning and seeing the numbers, you can reduce that pain. But with marketing, and especially, you're just dumping money.
No, it's you have to spend it to learn, but sometimes you have to lose it.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. I mean, it's there's nothing that'll drive you harder than and make you cement a lesson more than being on the losing side of it, especially as a competitor. That's awesome. There's one thing I wanted to hit on before we go, is the Texas fail mentality.
Yes.
I'm interested in what that is and how that's even applies to anything, right?
Yeah. So the Texas fail is something I heard from a mentor a long time ago. I can't remember who exactly, but it always has stuck. It's basically putting all of your effort and energy, burning the boats, going all in on something, knowing that if you fail, you will not be ashamed. You're going to brag. You'll sit around a table. And I just think about a bunch of Texan businessmen saying, I just lost $100 million, and laughing about it, because they'd set their goals so high that they had the opportunity to fail at that level, versus somebody who maybe just plays easy. They don't have the opportunity to fail at a level that they brag about. So if you have your tail between your legs and your business goes out bankrupt, like let's say back in December when I was kind of at my lowest, all sorts of thoughts are going through my head. I'll just run away to Cuba, whatever. But those moments, if I would have quit and thrown in the hat, no matter what my next venture was, I would regret it. But if I just kept going, kept through getting punched in the face, and I failed, just couldn't make payroll one week, just had to quit, but I knew I did everything. I'll brag about that. That's a Texas fail. So that's what the Texas fail. I love that story because I think everybody should shoot for that. You don't got to take life too serious. I think you should tap into your full potential, and if you fail, then that's something to brag about because you were doing something great. So
No, that's awesome. I love that mentality.
yeah.
I was in a different circle. I was in a men's group at church the other night, and we were talking about if we put our full faith into something, what does that mean? That means you can release that stress, that baggage, that everything on you, whether it's your God or your business or whatever. You put your full faith in that. It does a lot to relieve that pressure because whether I fail or not, I'm winning.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's awesome, man. Hey,
Yeah.
where can people find you, man?
Best place kind of get in contact with me is probably on Facebook. Just Carter Henrie, search me there. Obviously, if you're in the Salt Lake City looking for HVAC, Henry's Heating and Air, find us there. But most of the time I'd be posting on the socials. Always DM me, ask me for advice. I always like to joke with people. If you ask me for advice, I'll tell you more information than you want to hear. So
yeah, well, be sure to reach out to Carter. He's got a good story, and he's a good business person and does things the right way for his clients and his team. So any parting words of wisdom that you'd like to share with the folks today, Carter?
I'd say the last key thing I try and tell everybody is just be yourself. People like doing business with who they like. That you probably hear that all the time in the business industry, but it is very true. So if you can be yourself, your life's going to be a lot easier.
Yeah, just be authentic. No, that's good stuff. Hey guys, we appreciate you listening. Again, every week we try to bring on people or do solo podcast. The goal is to optimize the growth and financial well-being of those who listen, that we serve our clients, everybody. And hopefully, you were able to pick up some nuggets from this conversation with Carter. I know I did. It's always good to reflect and see where people are now, because you were once there. And you know what, as a business owner, you're probably going to end up there a few different times, right? Going through that cycle and that peaks and valleys. So anyway, we appreciate you all. Until next time, we'll see you.
Thanks, Chad.